Hey, welcome back to Talk Dealership Service. My name is Dale Childress, and today I got a question from Facebook from a gentleman named Jared, and it says, Dale Childress, I know you've already completed a pay plan video, which I thought was very thought-provoking. However, I still feel quite a bit of want for more pros and cons with respect to advisor team pay versus individual pay. Seems to me that with the changing customer persona and their sometimes seemingly insatiable appetite for self-preservation these days, that a group of advisors all working together for the same goal could be advantageous to almost any retail service department. What do you think? Well, I put a lot of thought into it, Jared, so I'm about to share what I think. So let's take a look at variations of pay plans for service advisors. Most of you in the dealership environment have had commission, team, hybrids. So what really works and what motivates the psychology of today's employee, and mainly what are we trying to accomplish? What's the goal here? I'm assuming that if you're a forward-thinking dealership, you really want to put the emphasis on the customer experience. And our measuring stick of the customer experience is, one, obviously a focus on CSI, repeat business, yada, yada, yada. But I think the main thing, if I'm looking at a pay plan that's going to grow my company for the long term, and I want to make sure that I'm attracting the best young, motivated employees of today, what do I do? Well, I put a lot of thought into that, and I did some research, so let's kind of take a look at it and break it down. If you remember, I bet most of you have had teams in your shop, or at least tried it. I know I did. And over a short period of time, teams thrive. Everybody really gets the concept. You know, your team foreman is really dishing out work. But here's what happens. All of a sudden, you got one guy that's turning 60 hours a week, and the guy that gets the hard work or the hard diagnostic, the water leaks, the wind noise, the electronics, the reprogramming, maybe he's only turning 20 hours a week. So over a period of time, the high-producing tech gets mad because the low-producing tech is riding on his coattails. But they forget one thing, that if they were doing the work that the 20-hour tech was working, they wouldn't be turning 60, 70, 80 hours. But it's easy to lose sight of that when you're in a true team environment. So I don't think if I were a fresh-thinking, forward-thinking service manager, I probably wouldn't go the team route as it relates to service advisors. I just don't think it would line up with your goals. I think it would be difficult to manage. And I think over a period of time, your top stars or your top producers would probably defect and go somewhere else. So it begs the question, what do you do? Well, I took a hard look at Lithia, Sonic, AutoNation, Ashbury, some of the more progressive dealers with the main focus on Lithia. And I talk about Lithia a lot simply because they've got dealerships all over America, and they take pockets of dealerships in different locales across the country, and they try different things, kind of like the Lithia driveway. We'll take diagnostics to the customer where they work at their house, and if it's a simple reprogram or a simple repair, the customer never has to come to the dealership. I can't tell you the results of that yet, nor can I even tell you if the customer has an appetite for that. But I do know that Lithia is at least trying to see if there is an appetite for that kind of service. They're doing the exact same with their service advisors. They've got the old traditional commission, which honestly probably doesn't serve anyone other than maybe gives you a basis of control for the distribution of payroll, but I'm not even sure that really works anymore, because you get personalities involved. You get this guy, well, to get this guy, I had to pay him X, and then before you know it, everything's out of whack. So I took a hard look at Lithia. Sonic had some good ideas. And Ashbury, who just bought a 54 dealer auto group, they're really progressive, forward thinking too. So what I'm about to show you, my idea really came from Lithia and Ashbury. So here we go. Best practice. This is what I came up with. And if you want to go this direction, this is my thoughts. I would do an hourly rate. For example, let's say I've done a really good job hiring the personalities that I want. So that's an important start. Hire good, hire smart, hire what you want. Like Chick-fil-A always said, I can't train people to be nice. So I'm just going to hire nice people. I love that motto. So first, we got to hire smart, hire good. Then go hourly. And obviously, different locations across America may dictate a different starting point, but let's just have a base. $15 an hour for every hour you work, include overtime. That's fine. And then a CSI bonus. I looked at this two different ways. Lithia did it one way, Ashbury did it another. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Hourly, at least everybody gets paid a rate that doesn't mean that if I go take care of somebody else's customer while they're off, I don't get penalized for ignoring my customer. We're all getting paid an hourly rate to do the job. Now, the CSI bonus, one group I looked at does it like this. They pay $100 for a perfect CSI score, and that goes to the individual service writer, okay? So if you got a guy making $15 an hour, and that's $600 a week if he does a 40-hour week, maybe some overtime. And at the end of the month, he had 6 perfect scores. Well, that's a $600 bonus. That's pretty dadgum good. But I also saw one where, now here's a little peer pressure, that they pay $50 an hour for every perfect score collectively. So I think in that, I love the peer pressure of that, because let's say you've got 3 service advisors. You got one guy that constantly gets 10 perfect scores a month. You get another that gets 7 or 8 perfect scores a month. Then you get the third guy who is weak as water when it comes to customer service, and he's only getting back 1 to 2 scores. In a system like that, I got a feeling the third guy is going to fire himself, because he's just not going to be able to give the service that the first 2 are basically dictating, because their performance is showing up in their CSI score. So there's a couple of ideas there. Personally, if I'm going to pay hourly, and my goal is to really, really enhance the customer experience, I like the idea of pooling the CSI scores as well. Both have their advantages, so don't say this is the only way to do it. If you got a superstar, then by all means let them have $100 for every score they get, and the guy who's not getting any perfect scores, he just don't get to share in that bonus. The flip side to that is, if we're all focused, all of the service advisors are focused on the customer experience, even if the guy that's got 2 or 3 scores shows weakness, at least until they can push that person out, they can at least team up to take care of the customer and make sure that the score they're getting back is at least perfect. Now, here's something that I thought interesting. So let's say you take the $15 an hour person, and they get their base level certification as a service advisor. Maybe that gives them $2 extra an hour on the clock. So instead of 15, they're getting 17. Well, let's say that they get whatever you deem, but I got a feeling most legacy franchises have also a master certification. So let's say they get a master certification. Well, maybe now that 15 goes to 8 or goes to 17, goes to 20. So let's pay people for their knowledge. So there you go. There's my thoughts. Do hourly, a good starting rate, whether it's 15, 20, whatever you determine is a good market rate for your area. And then as they work hard on their training, pay them for their certifications. Now, here's where the fun can come in. let's just say your dealership sells, this is going to sound bad, but I bet I'm close. Let's say your dealership sells 20 alignments a month. And you decide you're going to give an individual spiff for maybe a 2-week period of time. You're going to pay $25 for every alignment sold. And a lot of people may go, well, doesn't that kind of make people sell services that aren't needed? Absolutely not. If an advisor or a tech recommends something knowingly that the customer doesn't need it, there would be grounds for disciplinary action there. I'm saying that darn near every car that comes to your shop that's got over 12,000 miles needs an alignment. And these alignments are getting done somewhere. I just use that as an example. But for the sake of conversation, to grow an area you feel like you're weak in, let's just say alignments is an area you're weak, and you know that 5 out of 10 cars I get on the alignment rack are not only going to need alignment, they may need ball joints, struts, shocks, etc. Then I would, by all means, throw a spiff out there to start growing that segment of the market and take it away from the tire stores. So you got a lot of tools in your arsenal when you go hourly, CSI bonus, spiffs, training and certifications. I think at that point, you got the opportunity to grow a good person into great. So those are my thoughts. To Jared, I appreciate the question on the Facebook group. I hope this helps. I would really love to have some of y'all's feedback because that's the only way that we can keep this channel growing and learning from each other. So until the next question pops up, I'll see you soon.